We were traveling to Miami for our 15th wedding anniversary. At the airport, my wife said, "I forgot my perfume in the car. I'll be right back." 40 minutes passed, and she didn't return. A security guard approached. "Sir, your wife is in the restroom with the Uber driver and—" Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments what city you're watching us from. My name's Angel Romero Diaz. I'm 52 years old, and I work as a financial consultant at a renowned firm in Madrid. For 23 years and 7 months, I've been married to Beatriz Morales Ruiz, a 48-year-old woman I met in college when we were studying business administration. We have 2 children, Nuria, 23, a law student at the Complutense University, and Marcos, 19, studying engineering at the Polytechnic. I always consider myself a responsible man. I worked tirelessly to give my family everything they needed. A spacious apartment in Chamartin valued at 520,000 euros, 2 cars, annual vacations, private education for the kids. Beatriz stopped working 12 years ago when Marcos was born, dedicating herself completely to the home. I traveled frequently for work for 5 days a month, visiting clients in Barcelona, Valencia, Seville. I trusted her completely. I delegated all the management of our household finances to her, because after all, she also had a degree in administration. Tuesday, February 14th, 2023 was our 15th wedding anniversary. Yes, we got married on Valentine's Day, something cheesy she always adored. I had planned this surprise for months. A flight to Miami, 5 nights at a South Beach resort, romantic dinners, walks through Wynwood. I spent 3,800 euros on the complete package. Beatriz was thrilled. She'd been talking about it since January. That morning, we left home at 11:30 for the airport. We ordered an Uber because we left our car at the shop for a scheduled service. The driver arrived on time. A young guy, 30-something, dark-haired with an athletic build, driving a black Toyota Prius. I remember Beatriz sat in the front, which was unusual because we normally sat together in the back. During the 40-minute ride, I noticed she was chatting animatedly with the driver. They talked about gyms, workout routines, calorie-counting apps. I was distracted checking emails on my phone, not paying too much attention. We arrived at the airport at 12:40. Our flight left at 15:30. We had plenty of time. We checked our bags without any problem. The driver helped us get them out of the trunk. Beatriz thanked him effusively, too effusively. "Thanks, Ruben. You're very kind," she said with a smile that now, looking back, seems different. This Ruben guy smiled back. "You're welcome, Beatriz. Have a good trip." They used first names. They knew each other. We went through security. It was 13:15. We headed to the duty-free shopping area. Beatriz said she wanted to buy perfume. We walked through the duty-free store. She looked at fragrances, trying some on her wrist. Suddenly, she took out her phone, frowned, and said, "Oh, honey, I forgot my favorite perfume in the car, the Chanel No. 5 you gave me for Christmas. I can't travel without it. You know how I am." I told her she could buy another one right here. There were hundreds of perfumes. She insisted. "No, that one has sentimental value. It's in my small purse that I left on the back seat of the Uber." She sighed dramatically. "I'll be quick. The driver must still be around here in the waiting area. I'll be back in 15 minutes max." I wanted to go with her, but she rejected the idea. "No need. You stay here and watch your carry-on bag. It doesn't make sense for both of us to go back and forth." She kissed my cheek quickly. "I'll be right back, my love." And she walked away hurriedly towards the exit. It was 13:25 in the afternoon. I sat down at a nearby cafe. I ordered Coeur d'Or. I reviewed some work documents on my tablet. 15 minutes passed, then 20, 30 minutes. I started to worry. I called her cell, voicemail. I texted her on WhatsApp, 2 gray ticks, nothing delivered. 40 minutes after she left, an airport security guard, a man about 50 with a navy blue uniform and a serious face, approached my table. "Excuse me, sir. Are you Angel Romero?" I nodded, bewildered. "How do you know my name?" The guard lowered his voice, uncomfortable. "Your wife, Beatriz Morales, correct? It's on her boarding pass." "Yes. What's wrong? Did something happen to her?" My heart started to beat fast. The guard looked around, clearly nervous. "Sir, this is delicate. Your wife has been in the women's bathroom in Terminal 4 for 40 minutes. I wouldn't normally be bothering you, but there's a man with her. They went in together a while ago. Several passengers complained. I personally saw them go in. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. A man, are you sure? Completely sure, sir. A young man, 30-something, dark-haired, wearing jeans and a black leather jacket. I saw them go into the women's bathroom together. She looked around before going in, as if making sure no one saw them, but I was on my security round and I observed them. I'm very sorry. Sir. I couldn't breathe. Where is that bathroom? The guard pointed down the hall. Second door on the right, near gate B47. But, sir, I can't show you the security camera footage without a court order. I can only inform you of what I personally witnessed. I walked like an automaton towards that bathroom. My mind was a whirlwind. Impossible. Beatrice wouldn't do that. There must be an explanation. Maybe the guard got the wrong person. Maybe. I got to the women's bathroom. I stood outside like an idiot. I couldn't go in. What was I going to do? Yell her name? Make a scene? I waited. 5 eternal minutes. 10 minutes. Then I saw him. Ruben, the Uber driver, came out of the women's bathroom, adjusting his black leather jacket, combing his hair with his hand, looking furtively from side to side. Our eyes met for a split second. His expression changed from relaxed to terrified. He turned around and walked quickly towards the airport exit, practically running. 10 minutes later, Beatrice came out of the bathroom. Her makeup was smudged. She had tried to fix it, but you could tell. Her blouse was slightly wrinkled. She saw me standing there and turned pale. Angel, honey, what are you doing here? I was waiting for you. You've been gone for 50 minutes. My voice sounded strangely calm. Oh, I'm sorry, my love. I had a horrible anxiety attack in the driver's car. You know how I get with flights. I had to come to the bathroom. I felt awful. I almost threw up. The driver was kind and walked me here because I looked so bad. Then he left. She was talking fast, too fast. Are you feeling better? I asked without emotion. Yes, it's passed. I took a diazepam pill. Let's go board. I looked at the time. It was 14:15. We hadn't missed our flight. We didn't get on that plane. I told Beatrice I felt sick, that I needed to go home. She seemed relieved, almost too relieved. During the taxi ride back to Madrid, she talked nonstop about her supposed panic attack, about how flights had been making her nervous lately, about how maybe we should see a psychologist. I listened to her in silence, watching her. Her perfume was different. It wasn't her Chanel No. 5. It was a masculine cologne, musky, pungent. We arrived at the apartment around 1800 hours. The kids weren't there. Nuria had gone to her boyfriend's house that weekend. Marcos was at a university camp in Salamanca. We were alone. Beatrice took a shower immediately, almost running to the bathroom. I heard the water running for a long 20 minutes. I sat on the living room sofa, completely still. My brain was processing information in slow motion. The Uber driver knew her name. She knew his. Ruben. They had spoken with familiarity. He came out of a women's bathroom, adjusting his clothes. She came out 10 minutes later with ruined makeup. I grabbed my phone with trembling hands. I opened our bank's app. We'd had a joint account for 18 years. I earned approximately 5,200 euros a month. She hadn't worked in 12 years. I always trusted her to manage our household expenses well. I never checked the transactions in detail. I just checked the overall balance every 3 months when I did my quarterly statements. I started checking February 2023, normal expenses. January, also normal. But in December 2022, there was a strange transfer of 2,400 euros to an account I didn't recognize. Concept: kitchen renovations. Advance payment. We hadn't renovated any kitchen. I kept going back. November, 1,800 euros. Concept: online decoration course. Beatrice never mentioned any course. October, 3,100 euros. Dentist implants. She had perfect teeth. She never complained of dental problems. September, 2,900 euros. Building facade repair. I paid the community fees religiously every month. There hadn't been any special assessment. My breathing quickened. I kept checking month after month. August 2022. For 1,200 euros went out in 3 different transfers. July, 3,700 euros. June, 2,150 euros. The concepts were always vague, believable if you didn't analyze them. Plumber, electrician, private medical insurance we never bought, car repair that never broke down. I did some quick mental math. From June 2022 to February 2023, 8 months, approximately 28,000 euros had disappeared from our joint account in small amounts that went unnoticed among the normal monthly expenses. But there was more. I opened my personal credit card app, the Visa Gold I use for major expenses. Beatrice had an additional card linked to my main account. I checked her transactions. December 2022 for 1,200 euros at a jewelry store on Serrano Street. Purchase, tag Hoyer Carrera watch. I never received that watch. November, 3,800 euros at El Corte Inglés. Men's section, expensive menswear, Hugo Boss shirts, Armani pants, Church's shoes. I didn't have those clothes in my closet. October, 2,100 euros at a very expensive restaurant on the Castellana. Dinner for 2 on a Tuesday at 2,200 hours. That Tuesday, I was in Barcelona meeting with a client. I got home on Thursday. She had dinner with someone using my card. 28,000 euros in bank transfers plus 12,400 euros on the credit card. 40,400 euros in 8 months spent on something, on someone that wasn't us. Then I remembered something. I took Beatrice's phone. I unlocked it. I'd always known her password. 0109, Nuria's birthday. I opened the Uber app. Trip history. 53 trips in 8 months. All of them, absolutely all of them, with the same driver. Ruben C. The dates formed a perfectly clear pattern. Tuesdays and Thursdays. Every week without exception. Time. Pick up between 1430 and 1500 hours. Always from our address. Destination. 147 Velasquez Street. Average trip duration, 12 minutes. Average cost, 35 euros per trip. 35 euros for a 12-minute trip within Madrid. A normal Uber would cost 15 euro max. She was paying a surcharge. 53 trips multiplied by 35 euros is 1,855 euros just in inflated transport. I looked up the destination address on Google Maps. 147 Velasquez Street was a modern residential building, small apartments, an expensive area in Salamanca. I used Street View to see the building. Clean, elegant, a doorman-coded entry. The pieces fit together with brutal clarity. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, Beatrice always said she was going to Pilates. Pilates classes with my instructor Marta at the McFit gym, she'd repeat. She left home at 14:45, came back at 1900 hours. 4 hours and 15 minutes away, twice a week for 8 months. 64 days in total. 64 entire afternoons. And I never suspected anything because I trusted her blindly. My mind started replaying past conversations with a new perspective. I remembered an afternoon in September. I came home early at 1700 hours. A client canceled a meeting. Beatrice wasn't there. I called her. It took 3 rings for her to answer. Her voice sounded flustered. Honey, I'm still at Pilates. I'll be out in half an hour. In the background of the call, absolute silence. No gym music, no instructor's voice, no noise of people exercising, just silence and her slightly accelerated breathing. Another memory. October. She came home with a small bag from an expensive boutique. I bought myself a nice blouse. It was on sale, only 80 euros. The blouse was Italian silk, Max Mara brand. Impossible it cost 80 euros, minimum 250 euros. I commented that it looked beautiful on her. She smiled. It's because I like to take care of myself for you, my love. Now I understood who she was really taking care of herself for. November. I asked her how her Pilates was going. If she noticed improvements. Yes, my core is much stronger. Marta is an excellent instructor. I suggested that one day we could go together, try a couples class. Her expression changed instantly. No, that gym is only for women, very specialized. It doesn't accept men in Marta's classes. A perfectly constructed lie. December. I found a hotel receipt in her purse. Hotel Chijarro de Carafontes in Toledo. Weekend of December 9th to 11th. Superior double room. For €120 for 2 nights. I asked her about it. Oh yes. I went with my friends from the book club to a yoga and meditation retreat. I told you about it weeks ago. Don't you remember? I didn't remember because she never mentioned it. I nodded like an idiot. She continued. It was wonderful, very relaxing. We should go together sometime. That weekend, I was in Seville working. She was in Toledo with Ruben. January 2023. I came back from a 4-day trip to Valencia. Beatriz was especially affectionate. She prepared my favorite dinner, roast lamb with potatoes. She hugged me tightly. I missed you so much, honey. We made love that night. Now I wonder if she did it out of guilt, out of remorse, or simply to maintain the facade of a functional marriage while living her double life. I heard the shower stop. Beatriz would be out of the bathroom any moment. I put her phone back exactly where it was. I closed the banking apps on my phone. I took a deep breath. I needed real, irrefutable proof, not just suspicions and numbers. I needed professional help. The next day, Monday, February 16th, 2023, I would contact a private investigator. But for now, I had to act completely normal. I couldn't let her know that I knew everything. Beatriz came out of the bathroom wrapped in her pink robe, her wet hair falling over her shoulders. Are you hungry, my love? I can make something quick. She was smiling with that smile I'd known for 23 years. I don't have an appetite, I replied calmly. I think I'll go to bed early. It was a very long day. She nodded understandingly. Of course, get some rest, honey. She came over and kissed my forehead. The same kiss she'd given me for decades. Only now that kiss tasted completely different. It tasted of betrayal, of lies, of 8 months of meticulously planned deceit. I stood up and walked to our bedroom. She stayed in the living room watching television. I closed the door, sat on the edge of the bed, and finally let the silent tears roll down my face. On Monday, February 16th, 2023, I woke up at 6 a.m. with a crystal clear purpose. Beatriz was sleeping beside me, breathing peacefully, completely oblivious to what was coming. I had breakfast alone in the kitchen, black coffee, without sugar, checking professional contacts on my phone. A colleague from Barcelona, Gustavo Herrera, had mentioned 2 years ago that he hired a private investigator when he suspected internal fraud in his company. He gave me the name Tomás Navarro Gil, 45 years old, a former police inspector turned licensed private detective. At 9:30, from my office, I called the number Gustavo gave me. Tomás answered on the second ring, his voice professional and direct. Navarro Agency, good morning. I explained my situation without drama, just concrete facts. Suspicion of marital infidelity, regular disappearances on Tuesdays and Thursdays, misappropriation of bank funds. I needed photographic documentation and discreet surveillance for 3 weeks. My fee is €150 per day, plus documented expenses. Tomás explained in a neutral tone. I need a recent photograph of your wife, the license plate of the family vehicle, if she uses it, full address, usual routine. Everything you share with me is protected by absolute professional confidentiality. Is that acceptable to you? We agreed to meet that same afternoon at 1800 hours in a discreet cafe near Itacha. I transferred him €2,250 as an advance for 15 days of work. When I arrived at the meeting, Tomás turned out to be a man of average height, normal build, short graying hair, metal-framed glasses. He looked like any ordinary civil servant, exactly the type of person who goes unnoticed anywhere. Perfect for surveillance. I gave him a folder with everything, recent photographs of Beatriz, screenshots of her Uber history showing the Velasquez Street address, printed bank statements with the suspicious transfers marked in fluorescent yellow, exact times of her usual outings. Tomás reviewed each document meticulously, taking notes in a small notebook. Your wife leaves on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 14:45. Correct. I nodded. She returns around 1900 hours. That gives us an operational window of 4 hours and 15 minutes. I'll begin surveillance this Thursday, the 16th. I'll send you daily reports via encrypted email. Don't contact me by phone unless it's an extreme emergency. Total discretion. Thursday, February 23rd arrived. I left home at 8 as usual, feigning perfect normalcy. I kissed Beatrice on the cheek. "See you tonight, love." She smiled, making coffee. "Have a good day at the office." A domestic scene identical to thousands before, except now every word sounded hollow. At 2000 hours, I received the first report from Tomas by email. Subject, Day 1, Thursday 23/02. It contained 12 attached photographs and detailed text. Target left residence 1447. Uber vehicle license plate 4782 HNK. Arrived 1458. Male driver matches description, dark-haired, 30s. Athletic build. Target got in front seat. Greeted driver with a kiss on the cheek. Familiar gesture. Journey lasted 13 minutes to 147 Velasquez Street. Both entered building 15. 11 using access code. Doorman absent at that time. I waited in a parked vehicle opposite. Target and driver left building 1831. Her hair was down. She left home with a ponytail, makeup retouched. He wore the same clothes. They returned in the same Uber vehicle. He dropped her at her residence. 1849. Farewell. Quick kiss on the lips before she got out. Total, 3 hours 29 minutes at the location. Photos attached. Entry, exit, farewell kiss. The photographs were sharp, taken with a professional telephoto lens. Image 3, Beatrice and Ruben entering the building, she laughing, he with a hand on her lower back. Image 7, both leaving, she adjusting her blouse. Image 11, the farewell kiss inside the car, clearly visible through the windshield. Tuesday, February 28th. Second report. Identical pattern. Departure 1447. Entry to building 1505. Exit 1834. Tomas added a new detail. Investigated property. Apartment 4B belongs to Ruben Castro Medina. Dniech Farte. 1965 T. 34 years old. Born in Leganés. Rented since July 2022. Registered Uber driver. Vehicle in order. No criminal record. Marital status. Single. July 2022. Exactly when the suspicious bank transfers and repeated Uber trips began. The affair was precisely 8 months long. It wasn't a recent, spontaneous fling. It was an established, routine, planned relationship with military precision. During those 3 weeks in March, I maintained a flawless performance at home. I chatted with Beatrice about trivialities, the news, grocery shopping, calls from Nuria asking for extra money, Marcos' problems with a professor. On Thursdays, when she returned from her supposed Pilates, I'd ask with feigned disinterest, "How was class?" She would reply with fabricated enthusiasm, "Great. Today we worked on deep abs. I am exhausted." Lie after lie, rolling off her tongue with alarming ease. On Thursday, March 7th, Tomas added a crucial element to the report. Followed target and driver to a cafe in Malisana after they left the apartment. They stayed there for 40 minutes. Animated conversation, laughter, holding hands across the table. She paid by card. Attached, photograph of the bill, 68 euros. Order, 2 glasses of Albarino white wine. Premium cheese board, shared chocolate cake. The photograph clearly showed the receipt. Visa card ending in 4721. My supplementary card. Beatrice was spending my money on romantic dates with her lover, then coming home and having dinner with me, as if nothing had happened. On Tuesday, March 14th, I received the most devastating report. Subject, Day 9. Important additional finding. Tomas wrote, investigated deeper history. Target and driver Castro were at the Hotel Cigarro de Caravanes in Toledo. Weekend of December 9th to 11th, 2022. Confirmed with hotel registry. Personal contact, old colleague. Room reserved in the name of Ruben Castro. Check-in Friday 15:05. Check-out Sunday 12:30. Total 2 full nights. Attached, photograph of the registry and bill for 120 euros paid in cash. That weekend, the yoga retreat with her book club friends. A monumental lie. She spent 2 entire nights with Ruben in a romantic hotel while I was working in Seville, believing my wife was meditating and doing yoga poses with women her age. By Thursday, March 21st, Tomas had documented 9 meetings at the apartment, 3 subsequent outings to cafes and restaurants, a total of 127 compromising photographs, a complete record of times with minute-by-minute accuracy, bills for expenses paid with my card. The final report arrived on Friday, March 22nd. Tomas requested an urgent in-person meeting to deliver the complete physical dossier. We met again at the same cafe in Atacha. He handed me a thick folder, a professional binder with dividers by date. "Mr. Romero," Tomas said with absolute seriousness, "I have here irrefutable documentary evidence of a continued infidelity for a minimum of 8 months, 127 dated and geotag photographs, bank statement extracts, testimonial confirmation from hotel employees, a record of calls between your wife and Mr. Castro, recovery of deleted SMS messages from a device using legal forensic software. Everything is admissible in legal proceedings." I opened the folder. First page, a complete timeline. July 2022, first documented encounter. August, weekly frequency established. September to February, regular pattern Tuesdays and Thursdays without exception. December, weekend getaway to Toledo. Total estimated encounters in 8 months. 64 afternoons plus 2 full nights. "My professional recommendation," Tomas continued, "is that you contact a divorce lawyer before confronting your wife. This material guarantees a significant legal advantage in a contested divorce." I shook his hand. "Thank you, Tomas. You've done exceptional work." I paid the remaining balance, 1,100 euros. I left that cafe carrying a 2 kilograms folder that contained the certified destruction of 23 years of marriage. That night, Beatrice made lasagna, my favorite dish. We had dinner together watching a movie. She rested her head on my shoulder during the romantic scene. "I love you," she whispered. I replied, "Me too," empty words floating in an air poisoned by secrets. The next day, I would contact the best divorce lawyer in Madrid, but first I needed to decide something fundamental. Confront her immediately or continue acting until I had a complete legal plan. I opted for the latter. Strategic patience. She had lied for 8 months. I could act for a few more weeks until I had all my pieces perfectly placed on the board. On Monday, March 25th, 2023, at 10 a.m., I entered the office of Fernando Jimenez Ortega, a divorce lawyer with 32 years of experience in contentious divorces. His firm occupied the 3rd floor of a stately building in Chambéry, sober decoration, shelves full of volumes of the Civil Code. Fernando was 58 years old, gray hair combed back, an impeccable dark suit, an analytical gaze that inspired immediate confidence. I handed him Tomas's folder along with all my financial documents, complete bank statements for the last 10 months, credit card transactions printed and organized chronologically, deeds to the apartment, current will, life insurance policy. Fernando reviewed each page with absolute concentration for 40 minutes while I sat silently on the other side of the solid mahogany desk. Finally, he closed the folder and interlaced his fingers. "Mr. Romero, this is quite clear. We have 2 distinct but related legal problems: proven marital infidelity and misappropriation of marital funds. Let's first analyze the financial aspect because it determines much of your legal position." He opened his laptop and began typing as he spoke. "According to the documentation you provided, you were married on February 14th, 2008. Did you sign a prenuptial agreement before the wedding?" I shook my head. "Then you're under the automatic community property regime, which is standard in Spain. It means that all assets acquired during the marriage belong to both spouses 50-50, except for inheritances or personal gifts." Fernando took out a calculator and began to break down the figures. Apartment in Chamartin acquired in 2009, currently valued at 520 euros, 000, according to the recent appraisal you attached. Mortgage paid off in 2019. Marital property, 50% for each. Country house in Avila, inherited from your parents in 2015. That's your separate property. It's not part of the division. Joint current account with a current balance of 184 euros, 000, half for each spouse. Pension plan in your name with 112 euros, 000 accumulated. Separate property, because contributions came exclusively from your salary. You took notes on a yellow legal pad. Total approximate marital property, 704,000 euros. In a standard, uncomplicated divorce, each party receives 352,000 euros. But here we have major complications. He opened the folder again, pointing to bank statements he had marked with orange post-it notes. Let's look at the fraudulent transfers you identified. June 2022, 2 euros 150. Concept, kitchen renovation. July, 3 euros 700. Supposed plumber. August, for euros 203 payments, fake electrician and medical insurance. September, 2 euros 900. Non-existent facade de repair. October, 3 euros 100. Dentist implants that never happened. November, 1 euro 800. Fictitious online decoration course. December, 2 euros 400. Kitchen renovation advance. January 2023, 3 euros 500. Boiler change that wasn't changed. February, for euros 250. Various invented concepts. He mentally added up the total siphoned off through bank transfers. 28,000 euros exactly in 8 months. An average of 3,500 euros systematically diverted per month. He paused, letting the figures sink in. Now let's review the credit card. He spread out the statements I provided with suspicious transactions highlighted in fluorescent yellow. December 2022, Joyeria Suarez, Serrano Street, for euros 200. I contacted the store this morning. They confirmed the sale of a TAG Heuer Carrera watch, Model War 2011, purchased by a woman matching your wife's physical description. Men's watch, black dial, steel bracelet. November. El Corte Inglés Castellana, 3 euros 800. Men's department, 2 Hugo Boss shirts, 900 euros. Armani trousers, 1 euro 200. Church's Oxford shoes, 1 euro 600. Various accessories, 100 euros. October. Diver XO restaurant, 2 euros 100. Dinner on a Tuesday at 22:00. That day you were in Barcelona, according to the work schedule you attached. Fernando continued breaking it down. September. Weekend at a rural hotel in Segovia, 1,300 euros. August, Decima Sports Store, 800 euros, complete men's gym equipment. July, Sephora Perfumery, 600 euros, high-end men's colognes. Total unauthorized credit card expenses, 12,400 euros. He wrote the final sum on the pad with a thick red marker, 40,400 euros. He underlined it twice. 40 euros for 100 siphoned from the marital estate in 8 months to finance an extramarital relationship. This constitutes aggravated misappropriation because the funds are marital property, belonging to both of you. Your wife had no legal right to unilaterally dispose of these amounts for purposes unrelated to the family's interest. He leaned back in his leather chair, observing me with professional seriousness. Mr. Romero, in a contested divorce proceeding, this evidence radically changes the landscape. Normally, under community property, the division is an exact half, no discussion. But when there's proven misappropriation, the aggrieved spouse can demand full restitution of what was taken plus additional compensation for moral damages caused. He opened the Spanish Civil Code to a bookmark he had prepared. Article 1358 establishes that spouses must contribute to the support of family burdens. Article 1391 indicates that when one spouse acts to the detriment of the marital community, the other can request compensation. In cases of infidelity with documented financial squandering, Spanish courts have systematically ruled in favor of the innocent spouse. He closed the book. My recommended strategy is threefold. First, demand full repayment of the 40 euros for 100 siphoned off. This is non-negotiable. That money illegally left the common property. Second, request compensation for moral damages between 15 euros, 000 and 20 euros. 000. Infidelity itself is not a civil offense in Spain since the 2015 reform, but combined with financial fraud and systematic deception for 8 months, it generates a right to compensation for proven psychological suffering. Third, ensure that the remaining property division is exactly 50-50 according to the law, but after deducting what was stolen. He made new calculations. Marital property 704 euros, 000 minus 40 euros. 400 siphon off equals 663 euros, 600. Half for each, but your wife must return the 40 euros for 100 plus compensation. Let's say an estimated 18 euros, 000. Total she must pay you is 58 euros for 100. We deduct that from her share. She receives only 273 euros. 400 of the marital property. You receive your half, 331 euros, 800, plus the repayment of 58 euros for 100, for a total of 390 euros, 200. The difference was considerable. 116,800 euros in my favor compared to a simple division. How long does this process take? I asked. Fernando Saiz. A contested divorce in Madrid with significant assets and litigation for fraud, realistically between 12 and 18 months. We filed a lawsuit. She responds in 30 days. Discovery phase, 3 to 4 months. Oral trial. Judgment. If she appeals, add another 6 months. Prepare for a long year and a half. He explained the immediate steps. Before you confront her or notify her of anything, we must shield your personal assets. Tomorrow morning, we open a new individual bank account. We transfer your exact half of the 184 euros, 000 in savings, 92 euros. 000. We block the additional cards linked to your accounts. We change the beneficiary of your life insurance policies. We document a complete inventory of the movable assets in the home, appliances, furniture, valuables. Everything photographed and listed before a notary. If she tries to liquidate assets or hide assets once the process starts, there will be serious criminal consequences. I signed a legal services contract. Fees, 5,000 euro advance plus 15% of the amount recovered above a standard division. It seemed fair. Fernando was clearly the best in his field. I left that office at 1300 hours with absolute clarity on 2 things. First, I had a solid legal basis to obtain financial justice. Second, I needed to act quickly, but with surgical precision. One wrong move, and Beatriz could empty accounts or hide assets before I blocked access. That afternoon, I opened a personal account at a different bank, Banco Santander, Goya branch. I transferred exactly 92,000 euros from the joint account, my legitimate half. I canceled the additional cards. I changed the beneficiary of my life insurance policy valued at 320,000 euros at the insurance company. Before, Beatriz 100%. Now Nuria 50% and Marcos 50%. I got home at 19:30. Beatriz was cooking baked chicken. "Hi, love. How was your day?" she asked cheerfully. "Normal, boring meetings," I replied, kissing her cheek. A perfect performance on both sides. She pretending to be a faithful wife. Me pretending to be an ignorant husband. The crucial difference. I knew exactly what she had done, and I had a folder of evidence that would destroy her comfortable life. It was only a matter of time and the right timing. On Saturday, April 1st, 2023, Nuria came home from her university residence near the Somosaguas campus. It was 11 in the morning. Beatriz had left early, saying she was going to the Chamartin market to buy ingredients for paella. She'd be out until 1400 hours. Marcos was still in Salamanca finishing his camp. He'll be back on Tuesday. I had a perfect window to talk to my daughter without interruptions. Nuria came in carrying a heavy backpack of books, wearing worn-out jeans and a university sweatshirt. "Dad, you smell like strong coffee. Did you sleep badly?" She was observing me with that feminine intuition inherited from her maternal grandmother. The dark circles under my eyes betrayed weeks of insomnia. "Stressful work?" I lied weakly. She dropped her backpack on the sofa and sat next to me. Dad, you've been different since February. Mom too, but in a different way. Is something going on between you? I took a deep breath. I had rehearsed this moment mentally for days. Nuria, I need to tell you something very serious. What I'm about to show you will change your perception of our family. Once you know, there's no turning back. Are you ready? My voice sounded deeper than usual. Her expression changed from curious to worried. You're scaring me. Is someone sick? Do you have cancer? Does Mom have cancer? No, nothing medical. It's worse. I got up. I went to my study. I returned with the brown folder Tomas had given me. I placed it on the coffee table. Your mother has been cheating on me for 8 months with the Uber driver we use. She has spent 40,400 euros of our money on that relationship. I have documentary proof of everything. Nuria instantly turned pale. What? No, Dad, there must be a mistake. Mom would never do that. She loves you. She always talks about how proud she is of you. I opened the folder. First photograph. Beatriz and Ruben kissing inside the Uber after leaving the Velasquez Street apartment. Date printed, February 28th, 2023. 1834. This is not a mistake, daughter. Nuria grabbed the photograph with trembling hands. Her eyes filled with tears immediately. No, it can't be. Who is that man? His name is Ruben Castro Medina, 34 years old, an Uber driver. Your mother sees him every Tuesday and Thursday at his apartment for 4 hours. What she says is Pilates are actually meetings with him. I showed her the next photo. Both of them entering the residential building, she laughing, he touching her waist. Date, March 14th, 1505. Oh my God, Dad. Nuria began to cry silently, tears rolling down her cheeks without sobs, just pure shock manifesting. I gave her time. I didn't speak. She looked at more photographs, the couple in a cafe, holding hands, the bill from the Diver XO restaurant paid with my card, the receipt from the hotel in Toledo where they spent a full weekend. Each image was a visual stab to the image she had of her mother. After 10 eternal minutes, Nuria spoke with a broken voice. How long have you known? Since February 17th, the day after the incident at the airport. I hired a private investigator who documented everything for 3 weeks in March. I also discovered the financial fraud. She diverted 28,000 euros through false transfers and spent 12,400 euros on my credit card buying him expensive gifts. I showed her the bank statements with yellow lines marking each fraudulent transfer. Nuria read the made-up concepts. Kitchen renovation, dentist, decoration course. It's sick. How could she do this to you? How could she do this to all of us? Her pain was turning into growing indignation. Dad, you have to divorce her immediately. She doesn't deserve anything you worked for years. I've already hired a divorce lawyer, I explained calmly. We'll file the lawsuit in May. The process will last approximately 14 months. She'll have to return everything she stole, plus compensation for damages. But I need your support during this time, Nuria. It's going to be a long and ugly battle. My daughter wiped her tears with rage. You have me 100%, Dad. Whatever you need. I'll testify. I'll declare whatever. That woman destroyed this family. I hugged her tightly. Don't call her that woman. She's still your biological mother. But yes, she broke our trust irreparably. Nuria sobbed against my chest. How am I going to look her in the face knowing this? How am I going to sit down to dinner with her pretending everything is normal? Exactly as I've done for 6 weeks, acting. It's the only thing we can do until everything is legally prepared. We stayed like that, father and daughter, united in shared pain until we heard keys in the lock. Beatriz was returning from the market. I quickly put the folder away. Not a word. I whispered to Nuria. Act normal. She nodded, wiping her face with the sleeve of her sweatshirt. Beatriz entered carrying shopping bags, smiling. Nuria, honey, what a surprise. I thought you were coming tomorrow. She tried to kiss our daughter. Nuria subtly pulled away. I changed my plans. I have to study. Her tone was cold but controlled. Beatriz frowned, confused. Are you okay? You look pale. A headache. Nothing serious, Nuria replied, going up the stairs to her room without looking back. On Tuesday, April 4th, Marcos returned from Salamanca full of youthful energy, talking nonstop about a trip they took. New friends, inspiring teachers. During the family dinner that night, I noticed how Nuria barely spoke, eating mechanically while looking at her plate. Marcos asked, "What's wrong with you, sis? You're acting weird." "Stressful final exams," she mumbled. On Thursday, April 6th, the day Beatrice had her usual meeting, I decided to try something. At 1400 hours, I told her, "Honey, my 4 p.m. meeting was canceled. I'll be home early today around 5. I saw instant panic cross her face before she controlled it. "Oh, perfect, then I'll see you sooner. But I have plans too. Pilates until 7 as always. Remember?" She left the house at 14:40 like clockwork. I called Nuria, who was in her room studying. "Did you see her reaction when I said I'd be home early?" She nodded with visible disgust. She totally panicked. "Dad, I can't stand living under the same roof as her. Every time I see her fake smile, I want to scream what I know at her. Just hold on for a few more weeks." Fernando says we have almost everything ready. On Saturday, April 8th, Marcos sought me out in my study. "Dad, I need to talk to you about something weird." He sat down nervously. 2 months ago, in February, Mom told me something strange. She said she'd been seeing you very distant lately, that she suspected you were having, an affair with your new secretary at work, that Christina woman. I froze. "What?" "Yes. She said you were coming home late many days, that you were dressing better, that you were checking your phone a lot. She asked me not to say anything to you because she wanted to be sure before accusing you. I defended you, obviously, but now that I think about it, why would she tell me that?" The manipulation was brilliant. Beatrice had planted seeds of doubt in Marcos, anticipating a possible discovery, preparing a narrative where I was the bad guy. "Marcos, I'm not having an affair with Christina or anyone else, but your mother is having an affair with someone." The words came out before I could stop them. Marcos looked at me, confused. "What do you mean Mom is having an affair with someone?" His tone contained a mix of disbelief and instinctive defense. "Dad, I don't know what's gotten into you lately, but Mom would never do something like that. She loves us. She loves this family." I stood up, closing the study door. "Sit down. What I'm about to show you will change everything you think you know." I took the brown folder from the bottom drawer of the desk where I kept it under lock and key. Marcos watched with growing nervousness. "Since July 2022, your mother has been in a relationship with an Uber driver named Ruben Castro. They meet every Tuesday and Thursday at his apartment for 4 hours. She has spent €40, 400 of our money on that affair. She spent a full weekend with him in Toledo in December while I was working in Seville." I opened the folder, showing him the same photograph Nuria had seen, the kiss inside the car. Marcos physically rejected the image, pushing it across the desk. "No, this is fake. Someone is deceiving you. That's not Mom. It is her, Marcos. I hired a professional investigator who followed her for 3 weeks. 127 photographs, all dated with irrefutable digital metadata. I showed him the complete sequence, entering the building, leaving hours later, romantic dinners, bills with my card. My 19-year-old son began to hyperventilate. "Nuria knows this." I nodded, "Since last Saturday. That's why she's been distant." Marcos stood up, pacing in small circles. "There has to be an explanation. Maybe he's just a friend of hers. Maybe the photos are taken out of context." The denial was powerful. "Read the bank statements then." She diverted €28,000 through fraudulent transfers, inventing fictitious expenses. She spent €12,400 on my card buying him expensive clothes, watches, romantic dinners. I handed him the marked statements. Marcos reviewed them with trembling hands. "Kitchen renovation, €2,000? But the kitchen is the same as always." "Exactly." "Dentist, €3,100? Your teeth and your mother's are perfect." Marcos dropped the papers. "I can't. This can't be happening. Why are you telling me now? Why didn't you tell me when you found out?" "Because I needed time to process, to gather solid legal evidence, to prepare a strategy with a lawyer." Marcos then exploded with misdirected youthful anger. "No, you're to blame too. Always traveling, always working, never home. Mom was lonely, abandoned. How many family events did you miss? How many birthdays did you show up late for? She needed attention, and you didn't give it to her. His words hurt because they contained a fragment of truth. You're right that I worked a lot, maybe too much, but that doesn't justify betrayal or theft. Responsible adults communicate problems. They go to marriage counseling. They talk. They don't cheat for 8 months spending money that isn't just theirs. Marcos shook his head stubbornly. Mom needs psychological help, not a divorce. She's having a midlife crisis. We can get through this as a family. Nuria entered at that moment without knocking. Get through it? Are you out of your mind, Marcos? That woman stole 40,000 euros and slept with a guy 14 years younger for months. She systematically lied to all of us, and you want to get through it? Brother and sister faced off in the middle of the study. She's our mother, Marcos Chautif, and she's also a lying thief, Nuria replied with an icy voice. That's enough. Both of you, I ordered with a firm voice. Marcos, I understand this is a brutal shock, but I need you to process this information objectively. Your mother manipulated your perception by inventing stories about my supposed secretary to protect herself in case she was discovered. She used you as a pawn in her game of deceit. Marcos was breathing heavily. I don't know what to believe anymore. I need to talk to her directly. You can't, Nuria interrupted. Dad is preparing a legal case. If she suspects we know, she could hide money, destroy evidence, complicate everything. Marcos looked at me pleadingly. So what? We just keep living here pretending everything is fine. Exactly, I confirmed. Until the end of April. Fernando, my lawyer, is finalizing the documentation. Then there will be a formal confrontation with witnesses present to have a legal record of her confession. Marcos left the study, slamming the door. We heard his bedroom door close violently. Nuria sighed. He's an idiot. He was always Mom's favorite. She spoiled him excessively. That's why he defends her. He's not an idiot. He's processing trauma, just like you. He just reacts differently. Give him time. My daughter hugged me. Dad, I admire you so much. I would be a wreck in your place, but you're maintaining total control. Believe me, inside I'm a wreck. I'm just faking strength. On Monday, April 10th, I received a call from Fernando. Angel, we have everything ready. Complete financial documentation notarized. Certified inventory of movable assets. Witnesses prepared to testify. I propose we do a formal confrontation at your home on Friday, April 21st at 19:00. I will be present along with Tomas Navarro as legal witnesses. We'll present the evidence. We'll request that she sign a debt acknowledgement and a written confession. If she refuses, we proceed with an immediate lawsuit on Monday, the 24th. Perfect, confirmed, I replied, feeling a mix of relief and nausea. After weeks of silent preparation, the time was finally coming to destroy the lie we were living in. Fernando, can you come here tomorrow, Tuesday, around 11? I need to review the final documentation before Friday. Of course. I'll see you then. On Tuesday, April 11th, Fernando arrived on time with a worn leather briefcase. We spread all the documents out on the dining room table. Beatriz was at her fake Pilates with Ruben, Marcos at the university. Only Nuria was present, watching from the sofa. Fernando went over each page. Contested divorce lawsuit for causes of infidelity and misappropriation of funds. Exhibit A, 127 dated photographs. Exhibit B, bank statements with fraudulent transfers highlighted. Exhibit C, credit card statements with unauthorized expenses. Exhibit D, sworn statement from investigator Tomas Navarro Gil. Exhibit E, testimony of the airport security guard obtained formally through a notarized declaration. Exhibit F, complete asset inventory valued by a court-appointed expert. Total claim, Fernando continued, pointing to a figure on the final page. 40,400 euros siphoned off, plus 18,000 euro compensation for moral damages, plus estimated legal costs. Grand total, 62,600 euros that she must restore from the marital assets, plus an equitable division of the rest. I signed each page were indicated by yellow adhesive markers. On Thursday, April 13th, I did something risky. I canceled a scheduled trip to Valencia that day. I called my boss, inventing a family emergency. Instead of going to work, I discreetly followed Beatriz when she left the house at 14:45. I wanted to verify personally, with my own eyes, what the photographs showed. I saw Ruben's black Toyota Prius arrive on time. I saw her get into the front seat, smiling broadly. I saw him touch her leg before driving off. I followed, keeping 3 cars' distance to Velasquez Street. I saw them enter the building using an access code, disappearing behind the glass door. I parked across the street. I waited for 4 hours sitting in my own car, watching the 4th-floor windows, imagining what was happening inside. This was pure masochism, but I needed to experience it directly to close any remaining irrational doubt. At 18:35, they came out together. She had changed her clothes. She left wearing a light blue dress. She had entered wearing black pants. She obviously had a wardrobe in that apartment. I got home before her. When she arrived at 19:10, she played her part perfectly. "Hi, love. Pilates was so intense today. I am exhausted." "I'm sure it was," I replied with a double meaning she didn't catch. We ate the chicken curry she prepared. Trivial conversation about nothing important. Marcos ate in silence, avoiding eye contact with me. Nuria looked at her mother with barely concealed contempt. Friday, April 21st, 2023 had arrived. At 1800 hours, the doorbell rang. Fernando and Tomas, punctual. I let them in quickly before Beatriz came downstairs. They were in my study reviewing last-minute details when she arrived from her weekly encounter. "Angel, do we have visitors?" I saw an unfamiliar car in the driveway. "Yes, honey. Come to the study for a moment, please. We need to talk about something important." Beatriz entered the study, wiping her hands on a kitchen towel, a casual smile on her face. "What's up? Who are they?" Her voice cut off abruptly when she saw Fernando and Tomas sitting across from my desk with serious, professional expressions. The smile evaporated. "Angel, what's going on here?" "Sit down, Beatriz," I said, pointing to the empty chair I had strategically placed in front of the 3 men. She remained standing, confused but now on alert. "I don't understand who these people are." Fernando stood up, extending a hand she didn't shake. "I'm Fernando Jimenez Ortega, a divorce lawyer. He's Tomas Navarro Gil, a licensed private investigator. We are here as formal witnesses to this conversation, which will be legally documented." The color drained from Beatriz's face. "Witnesses? Documented? Angel, you're scaring me." She turned to me, looking for some reassuring sign that didn't come. "You'd better sit down. This is going to take a while." My voice sounded strangely calm, almost clinical. She obeyed slowly, lowering herself into the chair with the stiff movements of someone anticipating disaster. I placed a brown folder on the desk between us. The silence lasted for 5 eternal seconds. On February 14th of this year, we were on our way to Miami to celebrate our 15th anniversary. At the airport, a security guard informed me that you had been locked in the women's bathroom for 40 minutes with a man. That man was Ruben Castro Medina, your regular Uber driver, your lover for the last 8 months. Beatriz tried to laugh, but it came out as a strangled sound. "What? That's ridiculous. I had a panic attack. I already explained that to you." The driver was kind and... "Stop lying," I interrupted, opening the folder. First photograph on the desk. She and Ruben kissing passionately inside the car. Visible date, February 28th, 2023. "Explain this." She grabbed the photo with trembling hands. Her lips moved without making a sound. "This," I howled. Another photograph, both of them entering the building on Velasquez Street, he with a hand on her waist. Another, leaving 4 hours later, she visibly disheveled. One more, having dinner together in an expensive restaurant, holding hands across the table. "I hired Mr. Navarro, here present, to follow you for 3 weeks in March. He documented 64 encounters in total since July 2022. Beatriz started to hyperventilate. No, this is an invasion of privacy. It's illegal." Fernando intervened with an authoritative voice. Mrs. Romero, in Spain, it is perfectly legal for a spouse to hire a private investigator when there is a well-founded suspicion of infidelity. All these photographs were taken in public or semi-public spaces. They are admissible as judicial evidence. I suggest you stop denying the obvious. How long have you known? She whispered, looking at me with eyes full of tears. Since February 15th. 2 months living with you, knowing that every Tuesday and every Thursday you're going to sleep with Ruben in his apartment, while I work to maintain this house, this family, this life that you destroyed. My voice rose in volume involuntarily. I took a deep breath, regaining control. Tomas took out his notebook. Mrs. Romero, for the official record, you maintained an extramarital relationship with Ruben Castro Medina from July 2022 to the present. Do you confirm or deny this? Beatriz was sobbing now, makeup running down her cheeks. I didn't want to. It just happened. I felt lonely. Angel was never home. Answer the question, Tomas insisted firmly. Yes or no? Yes, she finally exhaled. Yes, I had. I have a relationship with Ruben, but it wasn't planned. It started innocently. He was kind. He listened to me. He made me feel seen again. Angel, you were always traveling, always busy. The kids grew up and left. I was left alone in this empty house day after day. Her voice took on a desperate, self-justifying tone. And the money? I asked, pulling out the bank statements. 28,000 euros in fraudulent transfers, 12,400 euros on my credit card. Did that also just happen? I spread the documents out, showing each marked transaction. Kitchen renovation, 2,000 euros that never happened. Dentist, 3,100 euros for implants he didn't get. Decoration course, 1,800 euros you didn't take. Tag Heuer watch for 1,200 euros you bought for him. Dinner at Diverso while I was in Barcelona. Beatriz covered her face with both hands. He needed money. His job didn't pay well. He was going to pay it back eventually. Pay back 40,400 euros? With what? With the money you don't earn because you haven't worked in 12 years. The cruelty of my words was intentional. You stole from our joint account to support your lover. That's aggravated misappropriation. Fernando placed an official document on the desk. Mrs. Romero, this is a debt acknowledgement where you confess to have misappropriated 40 euros for 100 from the marital assets over 8 months to finance an extramarital relationship with a third person. You also acknowledge continued infidelity and accept full responsibility. If you sign voluntarily now, we can avoid a longer and more publicly humiliating judicial process. If you refuse to sign, we will file a formal lawsuit on Monday, where all of this will be part of an accessible public record. I can't sign that, Beatriz said with a broken voice. If I sign, I'm admitting. You're admitting the truth. I completed. You've already confessed verbally in front of 3 witnesses. This signature only formalizes what you've just acknowledged. You have 2 options. Sign now, and we handle a relatively discreet divorce. Or you don't sign, and this goes to court where all our acquaintances, neighbors, extended family will find out every sordid detail. A heavy silence filled the study for a long minute. Finally, Beatriz extended a trembling hand. Give me the pen. Fernando handed her a black Parker pen. She signed with shaky handwriting at the bottom of the document. Tomas and Fernando signed as witnesses, certifying the date and time. April 21st, 2023. 1943. One more thing, Fernando said, pulling out a second document. Immediate marital separation agreement. As of this moment, you are legally separated. Even if you continue to cohabitate temporarily, Mr. Romero will sleep in the guest room. Shared expenses are limited to basic utilities. There is no spousal support obligation until a final court judgment. Both of you sign. We sign mechanically. Beatriz stood up, swaying. Can I at least explain to you how it started? Why it happened? She looked at me pleadingly, searching for some trace of compassion. 3 years ago, you stopped touching me. 2 years ago, you forgot my birthday. Last year, you spent Christmas checking work emails. I felt invisible, on hell. Ruben made me feel desired again. Young alive. I know it was wrong, but I need you to understand. I don't need to understand anything. I cut in coldly. Mature adults communicate marital problems. They go to therapy, they talk. What they don't do is lie for 8 months, steal 40,000 euros, and sleep with someone 14 years younger. While their husband works to pay the bills she fraudulently inflates. I stood up, walking toward the door. Fernando will send you a schedule of legal proceedings. The complete judicial process will last approximately 14 months. I suggest you hire your own lawyer. Fernando and Tomas gathered their documents. We'll be leaving. Mrs. Romero, I'm sorry it has come to this, Fernando said with courteous professionalism. Both left discreetly. I heard the front door close. Beatriz and I were left alone in the study. She was crying silently, her shoulders shaking. Is there any chance? No, I answered before she could finish. This has been over since February 14th, when an airport guard had to inform me that my wife was in a bathroom with another man. You will sleep in the master bedroom. I will move into the guest room tonight. Tomorrow we will change all the passwords for the bank accounts. On Monday, I'll talk to the accountant to completely separate our finances. I went up to our room, took a large suitcase from the closet, and started packing my clothes. Beatriz appeared in the doorway. The children. What will we tell the children? Nuria already knows everything. I showed her the evidence 2 weeks ago. Marcos has also known for 10 days. Nuria supports me completely. Marcos is still confused. I saw her expression crumble even more as she understood that her children knew. Nuria, my baby, what must she think of me? Her voice was barely audible. She thinks you're a thief and a liar. Her exact words. I closed the suitcase with a violent zip. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to settle in my new room. Tomorrow we'll have breakfast separately. You at 8, me at 9. That way we avoid unnecessary encounters. I walked past her without physical contact. I put my clothes in the guest room closet. I closed the door. I sat on the edge of the single bed, staring at the empty white wall. 23 years of marriage had officially ended with a signature on a legal document and a confession recorded in the memory of 3 witnesses. But strangely, I didn't feel devastation. I felt something closer to relief. On Saturday, April 29th, 2023, a week after the confrontation in my study, I made phone calls I had been postponing. First, Emilio Morales, Beatriz's father, 72 years old, a retired teacher. Emilio, I need you to come to the house tomorrow, Sunday, at 11 in the morning. Bring Rosa. It's urgent. A serious family matter. His voice sounded worried. Is Beatriz okay? Did something happen to the kids? Everyone is physically fine. Just come. Next, her brother, Vicente Morales, 44 years old, an industrial engineer. Vicente, I know you and I were never close, but I need you to come to my house tomorrow with Lucia. 11 o'clock sharp. A serious matter related to your sister. There was a long pause. Angel, if it's a relationship problem, I'd rather not get involved. It's non-negotiable, Vicente. Beatriz needs her family to be present. 11 in the morning. I hung up before he could refuse. That night, I set up the living room like a makeshift screening room. I connected my laptop to the large 65-inch television. Tomas had given me a USB drive with edited material, a 35-minute video containing a chronological sequence of photographs, each with the date and time digitally stamped in the bottom corner. No music, no narration. Just images appearing every 5 seconds accompanied by interspersed bank statements showing the amounts taken. Sunday, April 30th at 10:45 the doorbell rang. Emilio and Rosa arrived first. I opened the door to find an elegantly dressed elderly couple. He in a light gray suit, she in a floral dress. Rosa fagme. Angel, son, you're so thin. Have you been eating well? Her genuine motherly concern brought a lump to my throat. Come in, please. Beatriz is upstairs. She'll be down soon. Vicente and his wife Lucia arrived 5 minutes later. Vicente was a male version of Beatriz. Same dark eyes, same slim build. Lucia, 39, a high school teacher, greeted me with a kiss on the cheek. Angel, you worried us with that mysterious call. I'm sorry for the drama, but you'll understand shortly. Everyone sat down in the living room. Nuria came down the stairs looking serious, dressed in a formal white blouse. Marcos appeared last, avoiding my gaze, sitting as far away from me as possible. Beatrice finally descended, pale, without makeup, deep dark circles, dressed in loose gray clothes. She sat apart from the group, next to a window. "Thank you for coming," I began with a control voice. "I've gathered you because the information I'm about to share affects the entire family. I need you to know it directly from me before it reaches you through other channels." Emilio Fronez. "Angel, you're scaring us. What's wrong?" I looked at Beatrice. She had her eyes fixed on the floor. "Beatrice and I are getting a divorce. The reason is continued infidelity for 8 months and the theft of 40,400 euros from our accounts to finance that relationship." Rosa let out a choked gasp. "What? That can't be. There must be a mistake." Vicente Estefanez. "Angel, those are very serious accusations." "They aren't accusations. They're documented facts that I'm going to show you now." I stood up, turned on the television. This material was compiled by a professional private investigator during 3 weeks in March. I warn you that it's explicit and painful to watch. I pressed play. The screen lit up. First image. Beatrice getting into Ruben's Uber. Date: February 23rd, 2023. 14:47. Second image. Both entering the building on Velasquez Street. 15:05. Third, leaving the same building. 18:34. She with her hair down, different from when she entered. Rosa began to cry silently. Emilio was clenching his fists on the armrests of the sofa. The video continued relentlessly, image after image, kisses inside the car, romantic dinners with intertwined hands, entering the hotel in Toledo with a shared suitcase. Between photographs, bank statements appeared. Transfer 2,400 euros, kitchen renovation. Charge Euro 4,200, Tag Heuerwatch, Suarez Jevelry. After 15 minutes, Vicente exploded. "Turn that off." He stood up furiously, walking towards Beatrice. "Is this true? Did you do this?" She nodded through tears without looking up. "Vicente, don't talk to me. You're a disgrace to the entire Morales family." His face was red with anger. Lucia tried to calm him by touching his arm, but he pulled away sharply. Emilio was now openly crying, a dignified old man reduced to a shattered father. "Beatrice, how could you? This man gave you everything, a house, a comfortable life, respect, and this is how you repay him." His voice trembled with a mixture of disappointment and shame. Rosa stood up unsteadily, walked over to her daughter, and gave her a resounding slap that echoed in the silent room. "We raised you better than this. We taught you values, honesty, fidelity." Nuria watched everything with an inscrutable expression. Marcos had tears rolling down his cheeks, finally understanding the full magnitude of what his mother had done. The video reached the final documents: the confession signed by Beatrice, the acknowledgement of debt, the bank statements totaling 40,400 euros. I turned off the television. No one spoke. Rosa was still standing in front of Beatrice, who was sobbing, covering her face. "Mom, I'm so sorry," Beatrice whimpered. "I lost my way. I was lonely. He made me feel special." "Enough," Rosa shouted. "There's no excuse that justifies betrayal and theft. You stole from your own husband. What kind of person does that?" Vicente turned to me. "Angel, I don't know what to say. I'm ashamed to call on my sister. If you need anything during the divorce, testimony, documents, whatever, count on me." He extended a hand that I shook firmly. "Thank you, Vicente. It means a lot." Lucia also came over. "We're so sorry. You don't deserve this." Marcos finally spoke with a broken voice. "Dad, I didn't understand. I defended Mom, thinking you were partly to blame for working so much. But this," he pointed to the turned-off television, "this is something else entirely. She stole from you. She lied to you. She lied to all of us." He stood up, walking towards me. "Forgive me for not believing you immediately. Forgive me for questioning your version. I was wrong." I hugged him tightly as he cried against my shoulder. "There's nothing to forgive, son. I know it was a terrible shock for you too." I felt his body shake with sobs he had held back for weeks. Nuria joined the hug, wrapping her arms around both of us. We stood like that, a broken family trio, but together. While Beatrice watched from her corner what she had destroyed, Emilio stood up, leaning on his cane. Beatrice, your mother and I need time to process this. Don't call the house until we're ready to talk to you. His tone was icy, authoritative, the voice of a father disappointed to the core. Rosa added, Angel, the children will always be welcome in our home. You too. But she looked at Beatrice with disgust. She needs to face the consequences of her actions. Vicente and Lucia said their goodbyes quickly, uncomfortable with the situation. I'll call this week, Vicente promised. The couple left, followed by Emilio and Rosa. I watched as the old couple walked slowly to their car, Rosa leaning on Emilio's arm, both bent under the weight of family shame. I closed the door. Beatrice was still in the living room, alone, surrounded by a heavy silence. Happy now? She asked with bitterness. You destroyed my relationship with my family. I turned to her with an icy calm. I didn't destroy anything. You did it with every lie, every euro stolen, every afternoon in that apartment. I just showed the truth you worked so hard to hide. I went upstairs with Nuria and Marcos. On the landing, Marcos asked, Dad, what happens now? Now we wait 14 months until a judge signs the official divorce. In the meantime, we live like strangers under the same roof. Nuria added, Not for long. I'm moving in with my boyfriend next week. I can't stand to see her faking normalcy. Marcos Nadif, I can stay if you need support. I need you both, I admitted. This year will be difficult, but we'll get through it together. I hugged them again, grateful to have at least my children on my side in a battle that was just beginning. On Monday, May 2nd, 2023, Fernando formally filed the contested divorce lawsuit in the Court of First Instance No. 17 of Madrid. File 1247/2023. Case caption, Romero Diaz, Angel versus Morales Ruiz. Beatrice, contested divorce for infidelity and misappropriation of funds. 543 pages of attached documentation, certified photographs, notarized bank statements, sworn affidavits, accounting expert reports. Beatrice had 30 days to respond to the lawsuit and hire a lawyer. She chose Monica Sandoval, a 46-year-old matrimonial lawyer known for representing wives in complicated divorces. The first meeting between the lawyers took place on June 8th in a neutral office. Fernando called me that afternoon. Angel, your wife's lawyer, is proposing an out-of-court settlement. A standard 50-50 property division, with no claim for repayment or compensation. She says her client is willing to waive alimony if we accept. Absolutely not, I responded categorically. She stole 40,400 euros. That's non-negotiable. Either she returns it in full plus compensation for moral damages, or we go to a full trial where we expose everything publicly. Fernando laughed briefly. I expected that answer. I'll communicate the total rejection to her tomorrow. June passed with an exchange of legal briefs. Beatrice, in her response to the lawsuit filed on June 29th, alleged a bilateral marital crisis due to emotional abandonment by the plaintiff, who prioritized his professional career over his family for years. Her lawyer argued that the bank transfers were legitimate household expenses misinterpreted and the credit card purchases were gifts for unspecified family members. An absurd defense that Fernando dismantled with an 80-page reply, proving each fraudulent expense with original invoices. In July, the discovery phase began. Fernando requested the summons of 22 witnesses. Tomas Navarro, the airport guard, hotel employees, the jewelry store clerks who sold the watch, the manager of the Diverexo restaurant, neighbors from the Velasquez Street building. Monica Sandoval objected, citing unnecessary evidentiary excess, but Judge Maria Dolores Campos Ruiz, 57, a rigorous magistrate, admitted all of them except the neighbors, considering them indirect testimony. August was a dead month judicially due to the summer holidays. Marcos went to a youth camp in the Pyrenees. Nuria was already living with her boyfriend Javier in a shared apartment near Monclos. I was left alone in the house with Beatrice, coexisting like ghosts. She spent days locked in the master bedroom, watching television. I worked from the study or went for long walks alone in Retiro Park. We prepared meals separately, used different bathrooms, avoided eye contact, an unbearably toxic cohabitation, but necessary until the property was sold. September resumed legal activity. The first preliminary hearing on September 14th before Judge Campos. We were present, me with Fernando, Beatriz with Monica, a court clerk taking minutes. The judge attempted a mandatory conciliation as required by law. Ladies and gentlemen, is there any possibility of an amicable agreement that would avoid a prolonged trial? Beatriz looked hopeful. I firmly shook my head. None, Your Honor. I demand full restitution of the stolen funds. The judge briefly reviewed the documentation. I see here compelling evidence of financial misappropriation. Mrs. Morales, it would be wise for you to negotiate seriously because if this goes to a full trial, the ruling will not be favorable for you. Monica Sandoval requested a 15-minute recess. She went into the hallway with Beatriz. They returned with a counter-proposal. My client offers to return 20,000 euros in installment payments over 3 years, waives alimony, and accepts an equitable division of the remaining marital property. Fernando didn't even consult with me. Unacceptable. It's a documented 40,400 euro plus compensation for moral damages of at least 15,000 euros. There is no possible negotiation on the amount. The hearing ended without an agreement. The judge set a schedule. Discovery phase October to March 2024. Oral trial, May 2024. Judgment estimated for July. October to December 2023 were months of endless depositions. Tomas Navarro testified for 3 hours, explaining his surveillance methodology, the authenticity of the photographs, the software used to recover SMS messages. His testimony was technical, precise, and irrefutable. The airport guard, Ricardo Soler, confirmed under oath having personally seen Beatriz and Ruben enter the bathroom together. January 2024 brought the financial expert reports. A court-appointed forensic accountant named Ignacio Ruiz Campos analyzed 5 years of complete bank transactions. His 200-page report confirmed proven financial misappropriation of 28,000 euros through unjustified transfers, plus 12,400 euros in credit card expenses for a non-family third party. Total, 40,400 euros illegally taken from the marital assets. February was emotionally terrible. Nuria had to testify as a witness. Seeing her on the stand in front of the judge, explaining how her mother manipulated her, how she discovered the deceit, how it affected the family structure, was torture. Marcos testified later, his voice trembling, admitting he initially defended his mother but changed his mind after seeing the evidence. Beatriz cried during her children's testimonies. I kept a stony face. March brought an unexpected summons. Ruben Castro Medina. Fernando had managed to get the judge to order his appearance as a key witness. On March 21st, Ruben entered the courtroom wearing a cheap, ill-fitting suit, sweating visibly. Under oath, he admitted to his relationship with Beatriz since July 2022. She told me her marriage was over, that they slept in separate rooms, that they were going to get a divorce soon. I believed her. Lies that Beatriz had invented to justify herself to her lover. Did you receive money or gifts from Mrs. Morales? Fernando asked directly. Ruben looked down. She gave me a watch for my birthday. She paid for some dinners. She said she had her own money from a family inheritance. More lies. Did you know that this money came from joint marital accounts? No, I didn't know. If I had known. His voice trailed off. A damning testimony that confirmed Beatriz's premeditation. On May 26, 2024, 14 months after filing the initial lawsuit, the oral trial arrived. An austere courtroom, dark wood panels, a Spanish flag flanking the judicial bench. Judge Campos presided with 2 advisory magistrates. The session lasted a marathon 6 hours. Fernando presented a brilliant closing argument. Your Honor, we are facing a clear case of photographically proven infidelity, accountably documented misappropriation of funds, and systematic deception for 8 months. The plaintiff deserves full restitution, plus fair compensation. Monica Sandoval attempted a desperate emotional defense. My client was going through a serious personal crisis exacerbated by the emotional abandonment of her husband. Yes, there was an error in judgment, but there was no criminal malice. The bank transfers were administrative confusions, not deliberate thefts. A weak argument that convinced no one. On July 15, 2024, I received a call from Fernando. "Angel, we have the judgment. It's a total victory." The next day, I read the official document, Judgment 847/24. The marital property partnership between Angel Romero Diaz and Beatriz Morales Ruiz is declared dissolved. Property division 50% for each spouse according to the standard community property regime. However, the misappropriation of €40, 400 by the defendant, is proven. Full repayment is ordered plus €16, 500 compensation for proven moral damages plus €4, 200 in legal costs. Total owed, €61, 100. Total marital property, €604,000 after expenses. Apartment, €520,000. Savings, €84,000 remaining. Half for each, €302,000. But Beatriz had to pay €61,100. Result, she received €240,900. I received €363,100. The country house in Avila, valued at €210,000, remained 100% mine as it was a separate inheritance. I decided to buy Beatriz's share of the apartment for €260,000. After deducting her debt, I only paid her €198,900. She signed the deeds on July 30th without a word, her face haggard, completely defeated. She had 60 days to vacate the property. On August 15th, 2024, a month after the final court judgment, Marcos appeared in my study where I was working, reviewing financial statements. He had turned 20 in June. He was wearing a faded university t-shirt and sweatpants. "Dad, I need to talk to you about money." He sat down across from the desk, uninvited, a gesture of familiarity that would have been normal before, but now felt presumptuous. "Go on," I replied without looking up from my laptop. "Well, the semester starts in September. I have to pay my university tuition, €850. I also need to buy textbooks, about €300 more, and the monthly allowance you always give me for €100. He spoke in a casual tone, expecting the automatic response he had always received. For 19 years, I had paid every educational expense without question, but that time was over. I slowly closed the laptop. I looked him straight in the eyes for the first time in weeks. "No." A single firm, definitive word. Marcos blinked, confused. "What? No what?" "I'm not paying your tuition. I'm not giving you an allowance. I'm not buying your books. You're going to finance your own education from now on." My voice was calm, but contained cold steel. His face went from confusion to disbelief. "Dad, you're joking, right? You've always paid for my studies. I need that money to continue at university. And I needed my son's support during the worst time of my life." I retorted without emotion. "I needed you to believe me when I discovered that your mother stole from me and cheated on me for 8 months. But you chose to defend the one who betrayed me." Marcos turned pale. "Dad, I was confused. She was my mother. I eventually came around to your side. Remember? I apologized." "Yes." After watching a 35-minute video with irrefutable proof in front of the whole family. After months of protecting her while I was suffering. Your sister believed me immediately. Nurith saw the photographs and took my side without hesitation. You needed a multimedia presentation to convince you that stealing €40, 000 was wrong. "That's not fair," Marcos exclaimed, standing up abruptly. "It was a complicated situation. Mom had filled my head with lies about your secretary. I was only 19. I didn't know who to believe. You were 19, not 9. You're an adult responsible for your choices, and you chose poorly. Consequences have weight, Marcos. This is a lesson you'll learn now." He sank back into the chair, breathing heavily. "So what am I supposed to do?" I can't pay tuition without a job, and working part-time means my grades will suffer. Exactly. You should have thought of that before you questioned my word when I showed you the bank statements with your mother's fraudulent transfers. But you didn't. So now you get to experience the reality that millions of students live, working, and studying simultaneously. And the car? He asked with a trembling voice. The CD Ibiza I lent you is in my name, but I use it daily. Not anymore. Tomorrow you'll bring me the keys. The vehicle stays here. If you need transport, use the metro like Nuria did before her boyfriend bought her a scooter. Marcos slammed his fist on the armrest. This is revenge. You're punishing me for a mistake I made months ago. It's not revenge, I corrected with an icy calm. It's proportional justice. For months you defended a thief who stole funds from this family. Funds that included your future educational fund. Your mother spent 12 euros, 400 from my card buying her lover expensive gifts, money that could have gone to your university tuition, but you defended her, saying I worked too much, that she was lonely, that she deserved understanding. Well, now you'll understand what it means to finance yourself. I stood up, walking to the bookshelf where I kept family documents. I took out a folder labeled Educational Expenses, Marcos. I opened it on the desk, showing him the accumulated receipts. Since you started university 2 years ago, I've spent 17 euros, 300 on your education. Tuition, books, materials, a prep course, a new laptop. That doesn't include the 400 euro monthly allowance, which adds up to another 9 euros, 600. Total invested in you in just 2 years, 26 euros. 900. Do you know how much your mother invested in Ruben? 40 euros, 400, almost double what I invested in educating you. Marcos looked at the figures, stunned. I didn't know. Exactly. You didn't know because you never asked, you never valued it, you never appreciated it. You assumed the money magically appeared. Now you'll learn its real value. I closed the folder, putting it away. Oh, one more thing. Your private health insurance, which costs 140 euros a month, is also canceled as of September. You'll use the public social security system like a normal citizen. Dad, that's too much. His voice went up an octave in genuine panic. How am I going to pay for everything? Tuition, food, transport, books? You get a job. Cafes hire students. Supermarkets need night stalkers. Delivery apps are looking for couriers. There are options if you really want to continue studying. Or you can ask your mother to help you with the 198 euros, 900 she received from the court judgment. Although I suspect she's already spent a large part of it renting an apartment and paying her lawyer. Marcos remained seated, processing the information, his face a wreck. And Nuria? Does she lose everything too? I smiled without humor. Nuria continues to receive full support. 650 euros a month. Access to a car when she needs it. Health insurance in effect. Funds available for emergencies. The difference between you two is simple. She supported me when I needed it most. You didn't. Actions have consequences, son. This is yours. He stood up, swaying slightly. This is going to destroy my academic performance. I'll probably fail subjects if I have to work 20 hours a week. Then learn to manage your time efficiently. Millions of students manage it. You can too if you really care about your future. He walked to the door, stopping at the threshold. Is there anything I can do to make you change your mind? Apologize again, promise something? No, I finally replied. This decision is irreversible. You need to learn that defending someone who commits fraud has a real price. When you have children of your own one day, and one betrays you by defending someone who hurt you, you'll remember this conversation. Now leave. I have work to finish. Marcos left, closing the doors softly, defeated. 2 weeks later, Nuria called me. Dad, Marcos got a job at Starbucks near the university campus. Shifts from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. 4 days a week. He earns 800 euros a month. He also sold his PlayStation and video game collection for 450 euros to pay part of his tuition. He applied for a student loan from the government for the rest. How's he handling it? I asked, genuinely curious. Exhausted. He gets home at midnight, studies until 2 a.m., wakes up at 7 for classes. He basically eats rice and pasta because his budget is so tight. But he's doing it, Dad. He didn't give up. I felt a complex mix of pride and sadness. Good. He's learning. On September 25th, Marcos appeared in my study again. He looked different, 10 kilograms thinner, deep dark circles, calloused hands from washing dishes at Starbucks. Dad, I'm not here to ask for money. I just want you to know that I understand now. I understand the value of every euro you earned. I understand what it means to work hard while someone at home wastes that effort. I understand why you're angry with me. And I accept the consequences of having doubted you. I looked at him for a long time. Did you pass your midterm exams? He nodded tiredly. 7 out of 10 in all of them. It's not my best performance, but considering I'm working 30 hours a week, I'm surviving. Good. Keep it up. He was hoping for more, but I simply added, you can go. He left without protest. That night, I called Nuria. When Marcos completes this semester with decent grades while working, I'll consider helping him with 40% of his expenses. He'll pay the remaining 60%. He'll never get the full support he had before. But I won't let him sink either if he shows genuine effort and real remorse. But this stays between us. He needs these tough months to learn the full lesson. You're tough but fair, Dad, Nuria replied. Marcos needed this. He was spoiled. We were all spoiled in a way, I admitted, living in a bubble of false trust while your mother destroyed everything from within. Now we're all learning to live with real consequences. November 2024. 4 months after the final court judgment, 19 months since that February when everything collapsed at Barajas Airport, I sat on the balcony of my new penthouse in the Salamanca neighborhood, a smaller apartment I bought for 340,000 euros after selling the family one for 520,000 euros. I invested the 180,000 euro difference in a diversified portfolio that generated passive income. A simpler life, more controlled, more mine. I was drinking coffee, watching Madrid wake up under a gray November sky. I was 53 now, more pronounced gray at the temples, deeper wrinkles around my eyes, but also something different in my gaze. Clarity won through pain. My phone vibrated. A message from Nuria. Dad, Marcos wants to see you this afternoon. Says it's important. Can you do 6? For months had passed since I cut off Marcos' financial support. According to Nuria's reports, my son completed the September-October semester with decent grades, a 6.5 average, while working 30 hours a week at Starbucks. He had matured visibly. He lost weight, gained muscles from carrying boxes, developed the permanent dark circles of a working university student, but he kept going without complaining, without asking for help, showing a character I didn't know he possessed. I replied, confirm for 6. I'll make dinner. I spent the afternoon cooking a lentil stew, a comforting dish Marcos had loved since he was a child. At 1800 hours, sharp the doorbell rang. I opened it to find my transformed son, 12 kilograms thinner by my visual estimate, an unshaven incipient beard, clean but worn clothes, a heavy backpack hanging from shoulders stooped by chronic fatigue. But his eyes had something new, adult determination. Come in, son. I hug him briefly. He smelled of coffee and cheap detergent. We went into the kitchen, where I served 2 generous plates of lentils. We ate in silence for a few minutes. Finally, Marcos spoke. Dad, I finished the semester with a 6.5 C average. It's not excellent, but considering the circumstances, I'm proud. I work 25 to 30 hours a week. I pay my tuition in monthly installments. I sold everything non-essential. The console, the expensive clothes Mom used to buy me, the mountain bike. I live on 300 euros a month for food and transport. I nodded, chewing slowly. And I want to apologize again. Not the automatic apology I gave in April when I saw the video, but a real apology earned through actions. For 4 months, I've shown that I can survive without your money. But honestly, Dad, it's exhausting. I get up at 7, classes until 3, work from 5 to 11, study until 2 in the morning. I sleep 5 hours a day. I eat rice and pasta because there's no budget for decent protein. My grades are suffering because my brain is exhausted. Welcome to the real world that 60% of Spanish university students live in, I replied without excessive sympathy. What exactly do you want, Marcos? He took a deep breath. I'm not asking you to go back to giving me everything. I don't deserve that. But I'm asking for a chance to renegotiate. I propose you help me with 40% of my educational expenses, 340 euros a month. I'll cover the remaining 60%, 510 euros. That way I can reduce my work hours to 15 a week, focus more on my studies, and regain the health I'm losing. In return, I commit to maintaining a minimum average of 7.5 and working those 15 hours without exception. It was a reasonable proposal, an adult negotiation. Why should I accept? Marcos looked at me directly. Because I learned the lesson you wanted to teach me. I understand the value of money now. I know what it costs to earn it. When Mom spent 40 euros, 000 on Ruben, it wasn't just an abstract number. It was 1,000 hours of your work. It was 400 shifts at Starbucks if we calculated my salary. Now I understand the betrayal, not just emotional, but economic. And I understand that defending that was unforgivable. I put down my fork. Do you know where your mother is now? Marcos nodded sadly. She lives in a small rented apartment near Carabanchel, 750 euros a month. She works as a receptionist at a dental clinic. She earns €1, 350. She's paying the debt to you in installments of 300 euros a month, according to the court order. She has 248 months of payments left. 20 years paying for what she stole. And Ruben? I asked with morbid curiosity. He disappeared completely when he found out there was no more money. Mom tried to contact him in June after the judgment. Number blocked, social media profiles deleted, changed jobs. The guy vanished as soon as it stopped being a profitable business. I smiled without humor. True love, evidently. Marcos continued. I see her once a month. She's destroyed. Dad, she's aged 10 years and 18 months. She's lost weight. She has gray hair. She doesn't die because there's no money. She lives alone in a studio without decent furniture. Her parents barely speak to her. Vicente never contacts her. She's completely socially isolated. Everyone we knew in Chamar knows what she did. She can't walk through the neighborhood without looks of contempt. Consequences, I said simply. I don't feel sorry for her. She chose betrayal. She chose theft. She chose lies for 8 months. Now she's living with the results of those choices, exactly like you lived for the last 4 months with the result of choosing to defend her. Marcos nodded, accepting my harshness. I know, and that's why I'm not asking for charity. I'm asking for a fair business agreement where we both contribute proportionally. I thought for a long minute. All right, I accept your proposal with additional conditions. First, you maintain a minimum average of 7.5 every semester. If you drop even to 7.4, the agreement ends immediately. Second, you work a minimum of 15 hours a week without exception, not even during final exams. Third, you send me proof of expenses monthly. I want total transparency about what you spend my contribution on. Fourth, this will never be like it was before. You will never have a car in your name. You will never have an allowance without justification. You will never again assume that money magically appears. Understood. Understood completely. Marcos replied with visible relief. Thank you, Dad. I won't fail you again. You better not. This is your only chance for redemption. There won't be a third. We shook hands formally, sealing the agreement. Then I hugged him tightly. I'm proud you survived these months. You showed a strength I didn't know you had. But never forget why it was necessary. After Marcos left, I called Nuria to report the meeting. You did the right thing, Dad. Marcos needed a harsh punishment, but not permanent destruction. Now he'll learn responsibility while maintaining some proportional support. And you? I asked, how are you processing all this 19 months later? Honestly, Dad, I'm still angry with Mom. I see her every couple of months out of filial obligation, but there's no emotional connection. She broke something inside me that can't be fixed. I don't trust anyone completely anymore, not even Javier. Although he's wonderful, there's always a little voice asking, is he lying? Is he hiding something? Mom taught me that even the closest people betray you. Her words resonated deeply. I know exactly what you mean. I check my bank statements weekly now. I change passwords monthly. I never delegate total financial control to anyone. It's not paranoia. It's caution learned with a 40,000 euros tuition. Nuria sighed. Will you trust someone romantically again someday? I don't know, daughter. I'm 53. I traveled alone to Prague in September, to Vienna in October. I met interesting people, but when the conversation moves towards intimacy, I automatically shut down. A part of me died in February 2023. The part that trusted blindly, that assumed good faith, that delegated without verifying. That naivety is permanently buried. Do you regret how you handled everything? Nuria asked. No, I did exactly what was necessary. I gathered evidence, hired professionals, followed legal procedures, got financial justice, set boundaries with Marcos. All strategically correct. But I'm not going to pretend I came out emotionally unscathed. I won a legal battle, got my money back, maintained my dignity. But I lost the ability to trust fully. I lost years of a happy married life I thought I had, but they were an illusion. I lost a version of myself that was lighter, more trusting, more open. There was a contemplative silence. Dad, you're the strongest man I know. You survived a devastating betrayal while maintaining total control. That's admirable. I don't feel strong, Nuria. I feel tired. But I keep going because the alternative is to fall apart. And that's not in my nature. I hung up, looking at the illuminated Madrid night from my balcony. Life went on. Marcos was learning responsibility late. Nuria was building her future cautiously. Beatriz was paying her debts, working in a humble dental clinic. And I, Angel Romero Diaz, a 53-year-old financial consultant, was rebuilding an existence on the rubble of broken trust. I had regained my dignity, my money, my self-respect, but blind trust that would never return. Maybe it was a necessary price. Maybe constant vigilance was the only way to protect oneself in a world where even a wife of 23 years can steal 40,000 euro while kissing an Uber driver in airport bathrooms. I drank the last sip of cold coffee. Tomorrow, I had an important meeting with a new client. The day after, dinner with Nuria and Javier. The following week, a work trip to Barcelona. Life continued, different but mine. Controlled, verified, protected. Never again naive. Never again blind. And maybe that in the end was the only real victory that mattered.